You are not lazy, and you do not have a time management issue. You have an emotional regulation problem. You avoid learning English or building your future, not because you lack ability, but because your brain perceives discomfort and effort as a physical threat that must be escaped. Stop negotiating with your weakness. Today, we are going to completely reprogram your brain. You wake up with a plan, not a vague idea, a real plan. Today, I'm going to study English. Today, I'm going to finally get my life together. For a moment, it feels different, clear, focused, almost powerful. Then something small happens. You pick up your phone, just for a second, just to check something. One notification, one message, one video, and suddenly it's gone. An hour, 2 hours, sometimes half the day. You didn't even notice when you lost control. Think about that. There was no decision, no conscious choice to give up. It just happened. Now it's afternoon. Your energy feels lower. Your brain feels heavy. You tell yourself, I'll start later. Later becomes evening. And now there's pressure. You should be studying. You should be doing something productive. But instead you feel stuck. So what do? You escape again. Another scroll. Another video. Another distraction. Not because you're enjoying it, but because it's easier than facing that quiet discomfort inside your chest. That feeling that says you're falling behind. And then night comes. This is the part no one talks about. You lie in bed, phone still in your hand, screen still glowing. And suddenly everything becomes clear. All the time you wasted. All the things you said you would do but didn't. You feel it. That silent guilt, not loud, not dramatic, just heavy. You promise yourself, tomorrow will be different. But deep down you already know the truth. You've said that before, many times. And the next day, it repeats. The same pattern. The same excuses. The same invisible force pulling you back into comfort. So let me ask you something. Right now, are you actually lazy, or are you trapped in a system you don't even understand? Because if this feels familiar, if you've lived this day again and again, then what you're dealing with is not a personality flaw. It's something much deeper. And until you see it clearly, you will keep blaming yourself for a problem that was never about laziness in the first place. Let's remove the lie first. You've been told that you're lazy, that you lack discipline, that you just need more motivation. That's not just wrong. It's dangerous because it keeps you fighting the wrong enemy. What you're experiencing is not laziness. It's addiction, not to substances, but to something far more subtle, cheap dopamine. Your brain is not designed for long-term success. It's designed for immediate survival. And in your brain, there's a simple rule: avoid pain. Seek pleasure. That's it. Now here's the problem. In the modern world, pleasure is everywhere. Instant, endless, effortless. You don't have to hunt. You don't have to build. You don't even have to think. You just scroll. And every time you scroll, your brain gets a small hit of dopamine. Not happiness, not fulfillment, just stimulation. Quick, cheap, temporary. And the more you consume it, the more your brain adapts. Think about this. The same video that excited you last week feels boring today. The same app, the same content, you need more. Faster, louder, more extreme. That's called dopamine desensitization. Your baseline drops. Normal life starts to feel empty. Now, compare that to learning English. Sitting down, opening a book, trying to understand new words. It's slow. It's uncomfortable. It requires effort. And your brain, it reacts to that effort like it's a threat, not a challenge. A threat because effort means uncertainty. Uncertainty means risk. And risk to your brain feels like danger. So what does your brain do? It protects you. It says, let's not do this right now. Let's do something easier first. Just relax a little. And without realizing it, you escape. Back to your phone. Back to comfort. Back to dopamine. And every time you do this, you reinforce the loop. Discomfort, escape, relief again. And again. And again. Until it becomes automatic. Now here's the truth most people never realize. You are not choosing distraction. Your brain is choosing it for you because you trained it to. Let that sink in. Every time you avoided difficulty, every time you delayed effort, you taught your brain. This is how we survive. So now when you try to change, when you try to focus, it feels unnatural, heavy, even painful. And you think, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Your brain is just doing exactly what it was trained to do. But here's where it gets even more dangerous. You've been waiting for motivation. That feeling where you suddenly feel ready, excited, driven. But motivation is not a strategy. It's a mood. And moods are unstable. They disappear the moment things get hard. So if your entire system depends on feeling motivated, you will always fail when reality shows up. Because real growth feels boring, feels repetitive, feels uncomfortable. There's no excitement in mastery. There's only repetition, silence, and consistency. So the real question is not, how do I become more motivated? The real question is, how do I act even when I don't feel like it? Because that is the skill that changes everything. And almost nobody trains it. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Not theory. Not motivation. Reality. There's a story about Kobe Bryant. You've probably heard pieces of it. But not like this. Imagine this. It's 3:30 a.m. The world is silent. No noise. No notifications. No audience. Just darkness and a decision. Kobe wakes up. No hype, no music, just routine. By 4 a.m., he's already in the gym. Not for a game, not for a crowd, just to practice. Now pause for a second. No one is watching him. No one is clapping. There's no reward in that moment. Just repetition. He starts shooting the same shot again and again and again, hundreds of times. Not exciting, not creative, not fun, just the same movement, over and over. Think about what that feels like. No dopamine piques, no instant gratification, just boredom, deep, heavy silence. And here's what most people get wrong. They think Kobe woke up like that because he was motivated. No, he wasn't chasing motivation. He was trained, conditioned. His brain didn't ask, do I feel like it today? That question didn't exist because he removed it. He replaced it with something stronger, identity. He wasn't trying to be great. He was someone who shows up every day, no matter what, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. There's another story. A Team USA player once talked about training with Kobe. They went out partying the night before. Late night, no sleep. The next morning, that player walks into the gym, tired, dragging, and he sees Kobe, already sweating, already finished with a full workout, hours ahead. Think about the psychological impact of that. That's not talent. That's separation. That's what discipline looks like in real life. Not loud, not emotional. Quiet, relentless, unnegotiable. Now bring this back to you. You sit down to study English, and after 5 minutes you feel bored, restless. Your mind starts looking for escape. Your hand reaches for your phone automatically. And you think, I just need more motivation. No, you need a different relationship with boredom. Because what Kobe understood is something most people avoid their entire lives. Mastery is built inside boredom, not excitement, not inspiration. Boredom. The same sentence repeated, the same word practiced, the same mistake corrected again and again. No applause, no recognition, just you and the work. So here's the uncomfortable question. Can you sit in that silence? Can you stay when your brain is screaming for stimulation? Or do you run the moment it gets uncomfortable? Because that moment, that exact moment, is where your future is decided. Not when you feel good, not when you're inspired, but when you're bored and no one is watching. That's where the real game begins. There's a system running your life right now. Silent, automatic, invisible. And the most dangerous part? You think you're in control, but you're not. You're reacting over and over and over again. Let's slow this down, because once you see this clearly, you cannot unsee it. Every behavior you repeat follows the same loop. Trigger, craving, response, reward. Simple, but powerful enough to shape your entire life. Here's how it actually plays out. You're sitting at your desk. You open your laptop. You tell yourself, okay, I'm going to study English. That's the intention. But then something small happens. A feeling, not dramatic. Just a slight discomfort. Boredom, confusion, mental resistance. That's the trigger. Now your brain reacts instantly. It doesn't say, let's grow. It says, let's feel better. That's the craving. Relief, comfort, escape. And without thinking, your hand moves. You grab your phone. You open an app. That's the response. And then it hits. That tiny release. That small wave of relief. The reward. Now here's the part that matters. Your brain records that sequence. It says, this works. Next time we feel discomfort, we do this again. And just like that, a loop is created. Not once, not twice, hundreds of times, until it becomes automatic. Now watch this. Next time you feel bored, you don't even think. You just react. Phone, scroll, escape. It feels like a choice. But it's not. It's programming. You built it. Repetition by repetition. Now let's go deeper. Because there's a second layer. Identity. Every time you repeat a behavior, you cast a vote. Not for an outcome, but for a version of yourself. You avoid studying. You reinforce. I am someone who avoids effort. You give in to distraction. You reinforce. I am someone who cannot focus. And over time, that identity becomes real. Not because it's true, but because it's repeated. Now flip it. Imagine this instead. Same situation. Same discomfort. But this time you stay. You read one sentence. Slowly. Awkwardly. Uncomfortably. That's it. No big achievement. No breakthrough. Just one small act of resistance. But your brain sees it. And it records something new. We don't run anymore. We stay. That's a different identity. And identity is what drives behavior long term. Not motivation. Not willpower. Identity. So the real problem is not, how do I force myself to study? The real problem is, what system am I reinforcing every single day? Because right now, whether you realize it or not, you are training yourself, either to escape or to endure, either to avoid or to act. And the scary part? This system doesn't care about your goals. It only cares about what you repeat. So if you repeat distraction, you become distracted. If you repeat avoidance, you become someone who avoids. But if you repeat even the smallest act of discipline, you begin to change something deeper. Not your schedule, not your productivity, your identity. And once that shifts, everything else follows. So the question is no longer, why am I lazy? The question is, what loop am I strengthening right now? And more importantly, are you even aware when it's happening? Let me ask you something. Right now, not later, not tomorrow. Right now, Are you just listening? Or are you actually preparing to change something? Be honest, because there's a difference, a dangerous difference. Understanding this video will not change your life. You can agree with every word I'm saying. You can even feel inspired for a moment and still stay exactly where you are. Think about that. How many times have you watched something like this, felt that spark, and then did nothing? No action, no change, just another cycle of I'll start later. So stop. Don't just nod your head. Don't just say, that's true. That doesn't count. Look at yourself right now. Are you sitting comfortably? Scrolling while listening? Half focused? Or are you actually ready to interrupt the pattern? Because this is the moment, not at the end of the video, not when you feel more ready. This, right here, you either decide, I'm going to keep consuming or I'm going to start becoming. There is no middle. And if you think that's just another illusion your brain is using to keep you comfortable. So decide. Silently, right now, which one are you? Now we get practical. Because insight without action is just another form of distraction. You don't need more knowledge. You need a system that works even when you don't feel like it. So we're going to rebuild your behavior from the ground up, not with intensity, but with precision. Step 1, the 2-minute rule. The cold start, your biggest enemy is not the work itself. It's the beginning. That moment right before you start. That's where your brain creates resistance. It makes the task feel bigger than it is. Heavier, harder, almost impossible. So you don't fight that resistance. You shrink the task until it feels stupid. Not easy. Stupid. Instead of saying, I'm going to study English for 2 hours, you say, I'm going to read 1 paragraph out loud. That's it. 1 paragraph. Or even smaller. 1 sentence. Or even simpler. Speak 1 sentence in English to yourself. That's your entry point. Now here's why this works. Your brain is not afraid of effort. It's afraid of uncertainty and overload. When the task is small, clear, defined, the threat disappears. So your brain stops resisting. And once you start, something interesting happens. Momentum. You don't need motivation anymore because action creates its own energy. But here's the mistake most people make. They start small, then immediately try to do more. They rush. They push. They turn a 2-minute action into a 1-hour burden. And what happens the next day? Resistance comes back, stronger. So listen carefully. Your goal is not to do more. Your goal is to become someone who starts, even if it's just 2 minutes, every day. No negociation. Because consistency builds identity, not intensity. Step 2, burn the escape route. Right now you're relying on willpower. That's why you keep losing. Because willpower is fragile. It fades. It fluctuates. It disappears under stress. So instead of trying to control yourself, you control your environment. Let's be honest. Your phone is not neutral. It's engineered to capture your attention, to keep you hooked, to pull you back into the loop. So why are you keeping it within reach? Think about that. You say you want to focus, but your biggest distraction is sitting right next to you. That's not discipline. That's self-sabotage. So we remove the escape. Physically, put your phone in another room, not on silent, not face down. Out of reach. Create distance. Because distance breaks automatic behavior. Next, clean your space. Not perfectly, just enough. Remove anything that invites distraction. Open tabs, notifications, background noise. You're not creating a perfect setup. You're removing friction. So the easiest thing to do becomes the right thing to do. And here's the deeper truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your environment. So design it carefully, because it's shaping you every single day. Step 3. Fall in love with boredom. This is where most people fail. Not because they can't start, but because they can't stay. They begin, they try, and then they feel it. Boredom, restlessness, silence, that uncomfortable stillness, and they panic. Their brain says, this is not working. This is too slow. I need something more interesting. So they escape. Again. But here's the shift you need to make. Boredom is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're doing it right. Let that sink in. If it feels repetitive, if it feels slow, if it feels uneventful, you are in a zone where growth happens. Not excitement, not stimulation, growth. Because mastery is not built in peaks. It's built in repetition. Quiet, unnoticed repetition. The same word practiced again. The same sentence repeated again. The same mistake corrected again. No one sees it. No one applauds it. But that's the point. You're not performing. You're becoming. Now here's how you apply this. When boredom shows up, don't run. Label it. Notice it. Say, this is the work. And stay for just a little longer. Not forever. Just a little longer than you want to. That's how you expand your tolerance. That's how you retrain your brain. And over time, what once felt unbearable becomes normal, even comfortable. And that's when everything changes. Now bring it all together. You start small. You remove distraction. You stay through boredom. That's it. Simple, but not easy, because this is not about tactics. It's about who you are becoming. Every small action is a vote. So the question is not, did I do enough today? The real question is, what identity did I reinforce today? Because that is what will decide your future. Now slow down. Don't rush past this part, because this is where everything becomes real. Not theory, not strategy. You, your life, your direction. Let me ask you something, and I don't want a quick answer. I want you to actually think. If you continue living exactly like the same habits, same distractions, same excuses, who do you become 5 years from now? Not who you hope to be, who you are if nothing changes. Picture that version of you. Wake up. Same phone, same patterns, same unfinished goals. Still saying, I'll start tomorrow. How does that feel? Heavy? Regretful? Or worse, normal? Because that's the real danger. Not failure. Adaptation. You get used to being less than who you could be. Now another question. What are you avoiding right now? Not on the surface. Go deeper. Is it the discomfort of learning? The fear of sounding stupid in English? The frustration of not being good yet? Or is it something else? The fear that even if you try, you might fail? So you don't fully commit. Because as long as you don't try seriously, you can always protect your ego. You can always say, I could have done it if I really tried. Think about that. Are you protecting your comfort, or are you building your future? Because you cannot do both. Every time you choose distraction, you are choosing a smaller life. Not immediately, but slowly. Quietly, day by day. Now ask yourself this. What would your life look like if you actually followed through? If you did the small things every day? If you stayed when it got boring? If you stopped escaping and started building? Would your confidence change? Would your opportunities change? Would the way you see yourself change? And here's the hardest question. Are you willing to meet your full potential? Not the idea of it. The reality, the work, the repetition, the discomfort. Because potential sounds exciting, but living up to it is demanding. It requires you to let go of the version of you that keeps choosing easy. So decide, not emotionally, not dramatically, honestly, are you okay with staying where you are? Or is there something inside you that knows you're capable of more? And if that voice is still there, even quietly, then the question becomes simple, not easy, but simple. What are you going to do about it? Let's be clear about something. You don't stay the same. No one does. You are either moving forward or you are slowly declining. There is no neutral, no pause button. Time is passing anyway, with you or without you. And every day you choose comfort, you are not resting. You are reinforcing a weaker version of yourself. Think about that, not in a dramatic way, in a real way. Because 5 years from now, you will not look back and remember the videos you watched or the excuses you made. You will face the results, the life you built or the one you avoided. And by then, it's much harder to change. Not impossible, but heavier. Because habits harden, identity solidifies. So the cost of inaction is not just staying where you are. It's becoming someone who finds it harder and harder to leave. So we remove one word, one dangerous word that's been quietly destroying your progress. Tomorrow. Tomorrow is comfortable. Tomorrow is safe. Tomorrow requires nothing. But tomorrow is where goals go to die. So we erase it completely. You don't start tomorrow. You don't fix your life tomorrow. You don't become disciplined tomorrow. You start now. Not big, not dramatic. Small, immediate, right after this video ends. You don't think about it. You don't plan it perfectly. You act. One sentence in English. Say it out loud, even if it's broken, even if it's awkward, even if you feel stupid. That's the point. Or write one goal, not 10. One. Clear, simple, real. Because discipline is not intensity. It's identity. It's a decision that I am someone who acts even when it's uncomfortable. Not later. Not when I feel ready. Now. And the more you do this, the more you prove something to yourself. Not to others. To yourself. That you can be trusted. That when you say something, you follow through. And that is how confidence is built. Not by thinking. Not by watching. By doing. So this is your moment. No music, no hype, just a decision. Do you continue to loop or do you interrupt it? If you're ready to stop consuming and start becoming, then commit. Not to this channel, but to a higher standard. Subscribe only if you're done with excuses and ready to prove it through action. Not tomorrow, now.